quickly. Okay, so adhesives, what adhesive to use and where to keep them so that you have them handy when you're ready to go. Hi, Faith. Lots of different choices in the Stampin' Up! Catalog. They are in here, and there's a whole page, and honestly, it can be kind of intimidating when you're trying to figure out which one you want to use. So, first of all, organization. I keep my adhesives right here to my side. So let's see, I think I can go down and show you. So they are right here in this drawer, and usually they're a little bit neater. So, well, true fact, they're not always neater, but I keep them in there so that they are ready when I want to be using them. And let's talk a little bit about the kinds of adhesives and what kinds of projects you use them with. So we have, first of all, Stampin' Dimensionals. These are my go-to for pretty much everything, right? You have something you want to pop up, like this layer of designer series paper, so you put some Stampin' Dimensionals on it, and honestly, you can never use too many. And then the next thing sometimes, though, is you have these little tiny elements, like this little leaf here from the Gilded Autumn Suite supplies. Those need these tiny Stampin' Dimensionals, which are wonderful. They're called minis, and they fit underneath those kinds of little things there that you want. Now, if you have a project that is dark cardstock layered together, sometimes when you look at it from the side, you see that white Stampin' Dimensional in there, and it just jumps out. So in that case, you would want to use the black Stampin' Dimensionals, which have this nice dark foam in the middle so that it doesn't jump out between your dark layers. It doesn't show on the side. So those would be the 3 dimensional choices there. Now, we also have these Stampin' Dimensional strips. They're called foam adhesive strips in the catalog. And you will find these helpful for things where you want a long strip. So if you're doing a shaker card where you have lots of surface area that you need covered, like around the sides of a box, then you're going to want these foam adhesive strips. They cut really easily. The other thing that you might find them helpful for is things like this, where you have long strips and you want some added stability. So you probably know that I am a huge fan of DSP card-based cards, but they're not super sturdy on the front. You reinforce the strength of the paper with a panel on the inside, but the front needs some help too. So extra strips of cardstock are great, but if you put strips of foam adhesive on here instead of separate Stampin' Dimensionals, then you're adding extra strength there too. So those can be a really great help for that. Okay, next thing. So a card like this has lots of parts that move, and you want a really strong adhesive for this. So I would use my Stampin' Seal for just sticking layers down, like adding this panel inside. But when it comes to adhering the pieces like this that are actually moving and people are tugging on them, I find that my go-to is the Stampin' Seal. It is like the regular Stampin' Seal on steroids. It's just really strong. And so it's great for adding in between these layers that are gonna get a lot of wear and tear. The other thing that works really well in this situation is tear tape. And this is really easy to use. You don't have to cut it with scissors. You can just tear it and just like that, have it ready to use on your project. And I use tear tape again for things that are gonna get like edges of boxes that have a lot of pressure against them, or for things like this card. And if you're looking for this card, it has a tutorial video on my blog from last month, from September. All right, so next kind of adhesive application. Say you have a gorgeous card like this, and you want to adhere these hooray words or these little fun pieces here. And this card is from Sarah Douglas. She's the CEO of Stampin' Up, and I got it in the mail last week. And so the thing that I would use for this little tiny hooray here is probably my fine tip glue pen. And this is really easy to use for these tiny things. The only caveat to this is that it doesn't dry instantly. So you want to, I just realized there's random cords here. You want to make sure that you give this a chance to attach. And so what I would do is I would put the hooray on the on this punch piece, the tailored label punch, And then I would take an extra clear black and I would just set it on there to make sure that it dries. Now, the other thing that people say about this glue is that they have a hard time getting the lid on. So let me give you my tip for that. It actually has like a little needle tip inside, so that you can really get a really fine bead of glue on there. But in the middle of the air, it's hard to get those two pieces to line up to go together. So what I do is I put my finger underneath the tip here so that it kind of eliminates some extra dimension, and then it makes it really easy to put those two things together and go ahead and pop that there onto my glue, okay? See, easy peasy. Now, the other glue that you could use for something like this, or for something like this word art card, which is one of my tutorials coming this month, is the green lid glue, or multi-purpose liquid glue as it's called in the Stampin' Up! Catalog. And I adore this glue. There are several things that I use it for that I find you can't beat it. So one of them, one of the things that you can't beat it for is for putting stuff down that you still want to be able to move. So I made these cards yesterday and they have this long strip on here. But I find, actually, here's a better example. I made these cards yesterday, and they have this long strip on the side, but I find that I wanted sometimes to shift it just up and down just a little bit. And if I use my regular adhesive, like my snail or my seal, it grabs and it sticks down right when you put it on. But when you put a little bead of the multi-purpose liquid glue, it grabs it enough that it stays in place right away, but it also gives you the option to just nudge it just a little bit one way or the other, so that you can have it be straight or aligned with something else. It's just a really forgiving glue. I'm a big fan. You can also use it for boxes, but since it doesn't grab right away, super strong, you would have to hold the layers of your box together for kind of a long time. So that's really where I prefer my tear tape or my Seal Plus. Okay, so back to this card. The other thing that I love about this glue for something like this is that you can attach your fine lines like this. So if you don't have your fine tip glue pen handy, like I recommended here, the multi-purpose liquid glue works well too. Now, a tip from my mom actually on storing this. So one of the things is that the glue is pretty viscous, and if you store your glue like this, the glue is always going to be spread out on the bottom, not at the tip where you want it. Or you store it like this on the handy storage end. That is going to mean the glue is always on this broad tip applicator end, which can be great if you want that. But usually I want the fine tip end. So what I do is I keep a little shot glass, and I store my glue like this all the time, and it doesn't really fit in that drawer. And since we're talking about storage, I just keep it on my surface area where I'm ready to stamp. Okay, and plus then you can collect little shot glasses from places you travel or things you love, about things you love. This one is from Cannes in the French Riviera, where we got to go on a Stampin' Up! Trip. So incentive trips are a pretty cool, amazing thing about being a demonstrator. And if that's an interest of yours, make sure you let me know. All right, so good for attaching these kinds of things. Now, my last adhesive that I'm going to talk about, it's not on the adhesives page of the catalog. Instead, it is on the one of the die cutting pages. So it's back here on page 172, and it is these adhesive sheets. Is that upside down for you? Should I be doing this way? I just showed you everything. Oh my gosh, this is not my day for videos. This way? No, this way. Okay, I can't read upside down anyway. Well, anyway, you get the idea. So, adhesive sheets. The way this works, you get 6 by 12 sheets, a number of them. You get a lot of square footage, and you would basically take your sheet and you would put a little strip of it on the back of your cardstock, run it through your die cut machine, and then you're going to peel the backing off, and you will have all these layers pre-adhered and ready to go. So that pretty much covers us. I'll bring you back up here. Ugh. So technical difficulties aside, the skewed picture is like my morning here. Anyway, I hope that you've gotten some tips about adhesive and how to use them and how to store them, because we all know that having to like go look for the adhesive you want is kind of a pain. A lot of people find that it works really well to keep them in an extra stamp case, one of the double thick ones. They're perfect. You can fit your seal, you can fit your Seal Plus, you can fit a roll of tear tape, you can fit your liquid glue, all of these things, some Stampin Dimensionals, all those things fit in one case, and then it's really easy to pull out and take places if you're crafting somewhere else or just to have by your side. So otherwise, if you don't have drawer space, that rolling cart that I showed on our tool day is a really great way to keep your adhesives just right at your fingertips, just always available when you want them. So I hope you enjoyed the tour this morning. Sorry for technical difficulties earlier. If you liked it, go ahead and love the video, comment, share, let me know that you are watching. And hi, Beth from New York. Next up is tomorrow, so tune in at 9:30 Central Time or thereabouts for the next organizational studio tour. And tomorrow I'm going to talk about ribbon and how to find them so that they're ready when you want to use them, the ones that match. And best of all, the storage for tomorrow is free and it's already in your house. I'm almost positive. So, hey Michelle. So definitely tune in tomorrow morning for the information about the ribbon storage. And yeah, if there's a tip that you would love to see, something that you have trouble storing or organizing, make sure you leave me a comment so I can add it to my list of things to show. So, all right, happy stamping, guys. Thanks so much for watching. In the video will post, so if you need to watch again from the beginning, you can go ahead and do that. All right, thanks guys. Happy stamping.